How are you really with everything that's going on in life right now?
Yeah, so I I was bench pressing several like a while ago, like a month or so ago, let's say. I was bench pressing and I got lightheaded, and so I stopped, got up, got some water. The lightheadedness didn't really go away, and so I went back at it thinking, "Oh, it's died down. It's probably nothing." And I went back at it. It felt like I was gonna faint, so I stopped again and got up, and that feeling never went away. The next day, I was driving on the highway, and the symptoms that I had just got like exponentially worse. I thought I was gonna pass out. My left arm got numb, which is, I don't know, maybe I had my arm funny and might not be related. And I pulled over to the side of the highway and thought I was gonna faint. Thought about calling the ambulance, and I was like, no, that like maybe I'm over exaggerating. I don't know. You always think about the worst case scenario in situations like that.
Yeah.
So I waited on the side of the highway for a little bit, and I decided that I was gonna drive to the ER, and I went to the ER, and they did a CAT scan, X-rays, EKG. They basically didn't find anything, and so they released me. Um, and just to back up slightly, it it feels like there's a cloud in my head. My vision is off. It doesn't feel like my normal vision. And the more I do things, move my head, read, really anything. Like I coach tennis. I've not played tennis since this happened. And that feeling hasn't gone away. And I think it's getting better, but it ebbs and flows. And so it's really hard
Yeah.
to tell. Right now, symptoms are low. It's great because podcasting doesn't seem to really exacerbate the symptoms a whole lot because I'm not reading, I'm not moving my head, um, and so I've tried physical therapy and I'm pursuing other paths as well. They think it might be vertigo. Other people that I've talked to thinks it might not be vertigo. It does seem to be inner ear related because it's really when I move my head, like if I
Mhm.
shake my head no, that's when the symptoms get really bad. And so it's been debilitating. I've spent a lot of times in a dark room. I normally when I go out in public, I've been wearing sunglasses. And what one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because, if this is gonna be sticking with me longer term, which it has, it's longer term, but even longer, I wanna get back to a sense of normalcy and start
Mhm.
doing things and if I can, push through. So,
Keep rolling forward.
yeah, keep rolling forward, that's it. Um, and so it's been rough, but one thing that I've been trying to stay consistent at is keeping this podcast going. And, I have a full-time job and we're getting into our, there's busy times and there's not. And so, yeah, just trying to survive essentially. So,
Would you say the uncertainty is one of the hardest parts about this? That no one really can say what's going on?
um, uncertainty, yes. It's more like I just I want to take a pill and get rid of this, right? Or if I want
Yeah.
to like do a workout and get rid of this or whatever. And it's it's the uncertainty of like, is it how long is this going to last for? That is discouraging, irritating, whatever. And one other thing that I do want to point out is I'm one of those people that really feeds off of like different people's energy. And
Hmm.
so one thing I'm not going to do is talk, like this, like kind of how I feel and like just
Hmm.
be whatever Debbie Downer the entire time. Like I'm going to like try to bring the same positive energy that I always do, so
Yeah.
as to not bring the energy in the room down, if that makes any sense.
This is a question that like was asked to me about a month ago,
Okay.
but do you feel like sometimes you're not allowed to be weak? Or do you think it's okay for you to be like weak or down?
Yeah, I think it's okay to be weak, and down. Maybe not weak is maybe a bad, not the right word, but it's okay to be down, but to what end? Like I again, I don't. We all know somebody that like a coworker, friend, family member that that they enter a room and they just bring everything down with them. I don't want to
Yeah.
be that person. So it's not about being weak or purposefully down. It's more like how is my energy affecting other people? And I don't want my energy to affect people in a negative way.
Yeah. Do you feel like sometimes it's performative?
Yes. I mean, it kind of has to be, right? To an extent, like you're not always going to feel great. You're not always going to be in a good mood, but you don't have to bring other people down with you just because you are.
Yeah. I think though it's important to also have people around you where you don't have to perform at that level. You know what I mean? Like with our friendship, we've had conversations where I've just been down and shown
Mm,
the weakness. And for me, that's been extremely valuable, you know, because I think especially
yes.
in modern day society, like holding up that like persona and keeping that like guard up all the time and trying to be strong all the time and pushing forward all the time, like something's got to give. And if you never let it give, then sometimes you just snap and break, and then you just kind
Yeah.
of fall apart.
Yeah. Well, I think the closest people to me have definitely seen me at my worst. In this situation, and so like, yeah, I do have those people where I can just be mellow or whatever, not have to bring that high energy. But I don't think this is the place to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that. So the next question that I wanted to ask in general was struggles of staying consistent, and I feel like right now with this thing that kind of ties into there a lot. Like this is probably an exponentially more difficult time to stay consistent compared to before, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. I looked at my analytics from like this month to like months prior, and like I was producing more shorts, and I generally have a pretty convenient backlog of recorded episodes, and I'm getting to the point where I don't, because I've deliberately not scheduled podcasts, thinking that, oh, like I'll be out of this in a few weeks, and so I don't need to schedule it. But like, I'm at the point now where again, like I have to keep moving forward despite what is happening to me. And so yeah, consistency has been is up there, and I think it's still important. Like I don't want to lose sight of this podcast and doing the podcast. I want to maintain consistency even if I'm feeling the way I do. That's important to me.
I really love that, man. It's honestly inspirational when I think of like all the things that you're going through right now, added on to all the stuff you already have going on, and that you
Mm.
still are pushing through to stay consistent. Like for me, it's inspiring to stay more consistent with the things that I'm doing. Um, I guess then, like, the question is also, is there anything positive that's come out of this situation? Any perspective switch? Anything gratitude for something? Anything at all?
Well, my older brother has type 1 diabetes, and a question that we'd always ask each other growing up, the whole family, was, would you rather have spina bifida or diabetes? And it's it's just been like, I don't know, like a thing that we do, and that we've asked. And I I've added this feeling to the mix, and this is something that I don't wish on anybody. Like I'm functional with spina bifida. I'm functional. My brother's functional with type 1 diabetes. This has been debilitating, and it's yeah. I think a gratefulness of sometimes when you're at your worst, it's it's nice to reflect on, this is only a moment, and I'm hopeful that it'll pass. I'll return back to normal, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a gratitude towards not feeling like this all the time, and being like, oh, okay,
Would you say this is one of like the hardest things you've gone through?
yeah, yeah. This is it's a it's a different hard, because it's like, well, one of the things I'm a big advocate for is doing hard things doing hard things voluntarily, right? And this is not voluntary. And
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of just makes everything hard at this
yeah,
point. Like someone
it
just switched up the difficulty level from like hard to extreme.
yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just, and I think the other way I go about it is like, I'm learning things about like what agitates the symptoms and what doesn't,
Hmm.
and kind of a curiosity thing of like, okay, well, how am I going to feel after doing this podcast? Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to feel if I, go to the grocery store, and all like different things like that. And um, yeah, so
Do you feel kind of like a scientist, like researching your own like life and like moment to moment segments?
I I always feel like that.
Yeah.
When it when it comes to like diet and exercise, or really anything, it's like I think maybe people don't put on that scientist hat, but I think everybody is trying to figure it out and be the best version of
Mm,
themselves, and uh, experimenting with different ways to be able to do that. And yeah.
yeah. Has there been like one conclusion that you've come to in your observations so far?
This sucks.